The gymnasium was alive with anticipation. Every seat was filled, every bleacher packed with spectators who had come without knowing exactly what to expect. A palpable tension hung in the air, like electricity before a storm. At the center of it all, Jim Kelly stood poised at the edge of the competition floor. His arms were crossed firmly over his chest, his jaw clenched with intensity. Each breath measured, deliberate. Every fiber of his being was focused, a living testament to years of discipline and mastery. Around him, his students represented everything he had taught, every principle he had instilled, every ounce of belief he carried in his martial arts philosophy. And yet, despite their training, the struggle was evident. Each point scored by their opponents sent waves of anxiety through the crowd. The wooden bleachers groaning beneath the weight of countless bodies pressed shoulder to shoulder. Parents clutched the edges of their seats. Children leaned forward with wide-eyed anticipation, and local reporters lingered at the edge of the stage, pens and cameras poised, hungry for the story that would dominate tomorrow's sports pages. Amid the chaos, another figure watched with quiet intensity. Joe Louis, a legendary name in the world of martial arts. His reputation preceded him. From California to New York, dojos whispered his achievements, his unmatched skill, his relentless dedication. Yet here, in this gymnasium, he appeared as just another observer. Inconspicuous yet deeply engaged, a hint of amusement playing at the corners of his mouth. Today's event was more than just a competition. It was a test of skill, pride, and the legacy of Jim Kelly's dojo against the formidable students from the Prada School of Martial Arts. Unknown to many in the crowd, the stakes were high. A wager had been made 3 months prior, seemingly innocuous over drinks. If Kelly's students emerged victorious, Russell Wong, a rival master, would publicly acknowledge Kelly's school as a premier training ground in the tri-state area. If they failed, Jim would face the humiliation of closing his advanced program for 6 months, sending his top students to train under Wong. The consequences were severe, a potential blow to reputation and legacy that could shake the martial arts community to its core. The tension was almost unbearable. Tommy Nakamura, one of Kelly's brightest black belts, had just been swept to the ground with ruthless efficiency. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that echoed like thunder. Kelly's fists clenched at his sides, his heart pounding. The score was tied, 3-3, with only 2 matches remaining. Every second counted. Every movement carried the weight of expectation. "Come on, Tommy," Jim whispered under his breath, urging his student to rise, to shake off the fall, to remember the countless lessons drilled into him. Yet Tommy's stance betrayed uncertainty, a tremor in his legs betraying the inner turmoil of a student suddenly aware of the stakes. As he prepared for the next exchange, the crowd held its breath. Each point mattered. Every misstep could tip the balance, not just of the match, but of Jim's hard-earned reputation and the morale of his students. This was no ordinary day in the gymnasium. It was a crucible, a moment where discipline, courage, and the true spirit of martial arts would be tested under the unforgiving glare of expectation. Every eye in the room was fixed on the floor, every ear tuned to the faintest sound of footfalls or strikes. Jim Kelly was not just a master instructing his students. He was a father figure, a mentor, a symbol of resilience. The outcome of this competition would resonate far beyond the boundaries of the gym, leaving a mark on everyone who bore witness to the unfolding drama. And so, with tension coiling like a spring within him, Jim prepared for what lay ahead, aware that every movement, every decision, every breath carried the weight of legacy and pride. The stakes and the struggle. The atmosphere in the gymnasium was electric. The tension almost tangible. Every eye was fixed on the competition floor, where Jim Kelly's students faced off against the formidable talents of the Prada School of Martial Arts. The bleachers seemed to creak under the combined weight of anticipation and excitement. Each groan would amplify the nervous energy. Families leaned forward, voices rising and falling in collective anticipation. Local reporters lingered around the edges, notebooks open, cameras ready, hoping to capture a single moment that could define the story for tomorrow's papers. The stakes were monumental, though few realized it fully. Beyond the obvious desire to win, beyond the pride of students and teachers, a wager hung in the background. A seemingly casual bet that could ruin reputations or cement legacies. Russell Wong, a rival master known for his calculated demeanor and unrelenting ambition, had wagered that if Jim's students triumphed, he would concede, publicly acknowledging Kelly's school as the superior dojo in the tri-state area. If they failed, however, Jim would face professional humiliation, the closure of his advanced program for 6 months, and the forced transfer of his best students under Wong's tutelage. The very thought made Jim's pulse quicken. Years of dedication, blood, sweat, and discipline could evaporate in a single afternoon of misfortune. And now, as the students battled for every point, the pressure mounted to almost unbearable heights. Tommy Nakamura, one of Jim's most promising black belts, had just experienced a punishing sweep, the kind that tested not only skill but resilience. He hit the floor hard, like a tree felled by an unseen force, and the collective gasp of the crowd reverberated through the gymnasium. Jim's fists clenched instinctively, his jaw tight with tension. 3 points each. Only 2 matches left, and the outcome teetered precariously on the edge of chance. Tommy's posture betrayed the inner turmoil of a young fighter suddenly confronted with the reality of high-stakes competition. Jim's mind raced, recalling every lesson drilled into him. Balance, focus, fundamentals. "Remember what I taught you, Tommy," he muttered under his breath, hoping his student could regain composure before it was too late. Despite his calm exterior, Jim felt the weight of every second. The crowd was a living, breathing entity, each cheer or groan a reflection of stakes. Parents clutched hands, children leaned forward with wide-eyed anticipation, and reporters captured every flicker of movement, every hint of emotion. And there, amid it all, Joe Louis watched silently, a legend in martial arts circles. His presence added another layer of gravity. He had seen countless competitions, but there was something different about this one. The intensity was palpable, the stakes unusually high, the human drama beneath the technical skill undeniable. Joe remained mostly unseen, observing with an air of casual detachment that barely concealed his fascination. As Tommy struggled to rise, Jim noted the slight tremor in his stance, a crack in the foundation of confidence that could make all the difference. The next exchange was a blur of motion, Tommy desperate to regain lost ground, his opponent precise and unrelenting. A clean strike landed squarely on his midsection, and the crowd erupted, 4-3. The score tipped, and Jim's pulse surged. It was no longer just about reputation. It was about his students, his legacy, the very principles he had imparted being tested under the scrutiny of a packed gymnasium. Next up was Lucy Wong, a student whose discipline and dedication were unmatched. She had endured grueling training sessions, practiced forms until her knuckles bled, and yet never wavered in her focus. If anyone could stabilize the momentum, it was Lucy. She stepped onto the mat, her every movement exuding confidence, precision, and unwavering commitment. Jim leaned forward slightly, his entire body coiled like a spring, prepared to offer guidance if necessary, but trusting the years of training that had brought her to this point. The match began, a flurry of strikes and counters, but the outcome was swift. Lucy lost her point. Another for Prattis, 5-4. Jim's jaw tightened further, the tension in the room thickening, pressing against his very chest. Ray Jollies, the final student, approached next. Young, talented, and full of energy, he was prone to flashy displays that sometimes overshadowed fundamentals. This match was critical. A loss here would seal the fate of Jim's school and the outcome of the wager. Jim called out to Ray J, his voice cutting sharply through the noise. "Focus. Fundamentals. Don't show off. This is about discipline, not flair." Ray J's eyes widened, absorbing the weight of the command, his posture stiffening under pressure. Nervousness threatened to undermine him. But Jim's words were a tether, a reminder of what truly mattered. As Ray J prepared to engage, Joe Louis moved closer, his presence calm but commanding. "Jim," he said quietly, then louder to address both Jim and the crowd. "How about we have a round? Just for fun, right here." The gymnasium fell silent, the usual roar replaced by a wave of disbelief. Jim stared, confusion and anger mingling. His students were in jeopardy. The wager, his pride, his reputation, all seemed to demand focus. Yet Joe's gaze held a challenge that was less about competition and more about intervention, about balance. The air vibrated with anticipation. Whispers ran through the crowd like wildfire. Jim Kelly versus Joe Louis. Two titans, two masters, standing at the edge of history in the making. The tension was unbearable, but something in Joe's steady eyes told Jim to accept. "Fine," he said, shrugging off his jacket, the roar of the crowd exploding in response. The student matches paused as Jim and Joe took their place at the center of the mat, two embodiments of skill, focus, and mastery, ready to demonstrate the culmination of decades of dedication. The legendary face-off. The gymnasium fell into an almost reverent silence as Jim Kelly and Joe Louis squared off at the center of the mat. Every eye was fixed on the two masters, whose reputations alone could fill pages of martial arts history. The earlier competition seemed to fade away, as if the air itself had shifted to accommodate the gravity of this new challenge. Jim could feel his pulse hammering in his temples, a rhythmic reminder that this encounter was no ordinary match. Years of practice, discipline, and philosophy were about to manifest in motion, tested not against ordinary students, but against a peer whose skill demanded utmost respect. The referee signaled the beginning of round one. Joe moved first, a subtle jab meant to gauge distance and reaction. Jim slipped it effortlessly, a small smile tugging at his lips despite the tension coiling within him. They circled each other like predators, calculating, measuring, every step deliberate. Jim's eyes flicked to the crowd briefly, noting the mix of awe and disbelief, then returned to Joe. The world had narrowed to the space between them, a ring of challenge charged with energy. A low kick from Jim tested Joe's balance, which Joe checked with apparent ease. Every movement was precise, fluid, and deceptively effortless. The speed, the timing, the sheer control. It was a reminder of why Joe's name was spoken with reverence across dojos nationwide. Despite his size, his movements were like wind sweeping across grass, sudden, swift, and impossible to anticipate fully. They exchanged a series of strikes, each one flowing seamlessly into the next, a choreography of skill and instinct honed over decades. Jim attempted a spinning back kick, testing Joe's reflexes, only for Joe to duck and respond with a sweep that Jim narrowly avoided with a jump. The crowd roared, caught between astonishment and admiration. Jim felt a familiar fire ignite within him. Not anger, not frustration, but a controlled intensity of a fighter fully engaged. The match was a crucible. Each attack encountered an expression of years of training. Joe met every strike, every feint, every attempt with precision, and Jim found himself sharpening, pushing further, demanding more from his own body and mind. With every combination, he felt his own rhythm aligning, the chaos of earlier student matches fading into clarity. The first round ended with no point scored, yet Jim felt a sense of calm he hadn't known all afternoon. Breathing deeply, he returned to his corner, accepting a towel offered by one of his students. Across the mat, Joe remained remarkably composed, the infamous smile still playing at the corners of his mouth. It was infuriating in the most motivating way. Jim knew Joe's skill, his patience, and his ability to control the pace of a fight. The calmness was deceptive, and it fueled Jim's determination for the next round. What an incredible journey we witnessed today. Not just a competition, but a story of dedication, discipline, and the true spirit of martial arts. Jim Kelly's students showed heart, perseverance, and growth under pressure, and Jim himself demonstrated that even the greatest masters learn from every challenge. If there's one lesson takeaway, it's this: success isn't only about winning, it's about learning, supporting each other, and rising stronger together. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more amazing martial arts stories and legendary moments. See you in the next video.